trail of that,
Right.
so.
So maybe just something that I put into words when I was looking for, and then how is this
So
policy?
to just clarify, right, your proposal makes sense, but no cash.
No.
Right.
Not at all. No.
It doesn't say it though, I mean, I don't think.
It says any gift with a value.
Right, so, okay. How is this communicated to staff? I mean, is this in a new hire packet? I mean,
That's
how do
what
they know
yeah,
about this?
Through the chair, that's a good question. I thought, I don't know if it's through HR or if it's through this, but, there is, I think through the orientation, it's talked about this. We've discussed it in our staff meetings many times, the supervisors and stuff, but it's just, knowing what's right, and in all departments, everybody's seeing everybody, all the time. So, I will say probably most of the stuff goes through the customer assistance center, when food's donated, it's there, usually an email sent out, hey, so-and-so brought food in, if anybody's hungry, you're more than welcome to come get some or something. That's usually, but there is, I think it's through HR when somebody's talking, it's through the initial welcoming process.
So, yeah, I mean, I would just think, how are new hires notified, and then maybe an annual notice.
We are-
Typically in your payroll systems, you can set those up to push it out
So
and get acknowledgement.
I just made a note, and we are working on like a binder, like a new hire binder kind of type thing, so welcome aboard, and that's something we should definitely have in there.
Just because some people might inadvertently do something not intentional, but it just remind people, reminders often people forget.
Mr. Plato?
And it is posted. Cindy has made sure it's posted on the website. So it's all in the current ethics ordinance is posted there. It must be agreed upon and done.
And I would suggest, there is a National Sunshine Day. The next one will be March 16th next year. So maybe something as a touch point, just as use that as kind of a reminder, whether or not it's an email blast or something, to coordinate, just as a reminder. Certainly, the mayor and his administration can choose how to communicate, but as you were mentioning that, like there is a National Sunshine Day, and the idea is to focus on the things that we, not just the letter of the law, it's the spirit of the law, and much like we celebrate, other things within the year, within the city, certainly that would be a good point in time. Mr. Mayor?
No, through the chair, just like I said, I've never felt or seen anything that has caused an alarm or anything, but just getting back to the actual board itself, the few remaining members, I know Cindy can attest to this, that, the ethics board has wanted to look at and go through and possibly look at making some updates to what was there, but, they have not been able to do that, and some of those people have fallen off. So if we ever do get that board back at some point, I think that's going to be a topic of discussion where they're going to want to go through and look at those, and update it.
All right. Is there any further discussion on the motion to postpone? Hearing none, all's in favor of postponing until September 30th or 3rd, say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, say no. The yeses have it, motion carried. Mr. Mayor, is there any further, and before we go on, Frank, as Mr. Plato stated, it is best to communicate directly with Mr. Plato on a one-on-one basis, and as well as working with Tira, with the council secretary. She does a fantastic job. If you send it to her, she'll make sure that we have printed copies. I certainly have my chicken scratch. Mr. Plato, actually, your chicken scratch looks worse than mine, but I was gonna say yours looks better than mine, it doesn't. But just to reiterate, 3 of the items, in the rest of the council may want to jot this down, was one proposal for an amendment was section 3.E strike 4 policy. Another proposed possible amendment is section 5.C.1, addition of something along the lines of relatives, current contractors. exactly how that gets worded. So current city officials or their relatives, current contractors or employees should not be eligible. Something along those lines, but, you know, so that was one possible. And then section 5.C.1, it currently says 2/3. There's a question on whether or not, you know, a motion to make that a simple majority could be indicated at that point in time. Certainly, if we want to add in a reporting requirement, it'll be a lot of work to get that ready for September 3rd. And I would encourage you to, you know, on the Secretary of State's website, there are forms that state officials have to fill out now that they didn't have previously. There's been some back and forth, some confusion even with what needed to be reported on that, so there may be some lessons learned. But quite frankly, it may take a little bit more time than before the next meeting to get that buttoned up. Okay, Mr. Mayor, any further communications?
No, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
All right. That brings us to the regular agenda. Item 7.1 is a motion approved to set the public hearing date to October 1st, 2024 to vacate retaining all utility easements, 20-foot alley located adjacent to lots 129 through 141, 272, and 392, inclusive of the Hitchman's Rouge Hill sub of the northeast quarter section 6, City of Taylor, Township 3 South, Route 10 East, Wayne County, Michigan. The subject site is between Marvin Avenue and McGuire Avenue.
Motion? Support?
Motion by Councilwoman Witten, supported by Councilwoman Davis. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. Yes, the status motion carried. Item 7.2 is a motion to approve entering into a 2-year agreement with Block Group Incorporated for a cost not to exceed $101,250 for the first year and $81,000 for the second year, funded through ARPA.
Motion to approve.
Support. Motion by Councilwoman Brandana, supported by Councilman Johnson. Is there any discussion?
Chairman?
Councilman.
Can we get, and I know we might not be able to get it tonight, but we're adding cameras and adding cameras and, you know, what is the total, like citywide between all of these? And then we're funding this out of ARPA, so what's the funding source when ARPA's not around? And can we maintain that?
Hello, Chief. Good evening.